Alhamdulillah, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, may peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Have you ever wondered why certain people walk away? Why certain hands slip from yours no matter how tightly you try to hold on? Have you ever felt the quiet ache of watching a chapter close before you were ready? Sometimes life pulls you into moments where your heart whispers, why did this happen? Why now? Why them? And in that whisper, a deeper truth is waiting, one that your soul has been longing to remember. Because sometimes what feels like loss is actually Allah's way of clearing the path. Sometimes what breaks you is what opens you. And sometimes letting go is the most spiritual act of trust you will ever perform. There are seasons when Allah removes people not to punish you, but to protect your heart from what you cannot yet see. There are moments when He removes a person, so your heart can finally belong to Him again. Allah says that perhaps you may dislike something while He places in it immense good you cannot understand with the limited eyes of this world. And maybe that is the lesson. Not everything that hurts is harmful, and not everything you want is what you need. Your pain isn't proof that Allah has abandoned you. It is proof that your heart is awakening. Remember, the Prophet taught us that what is written for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant for you. So why chase what Allah has released? Why hold on to a rope He has already untied? There is a sacred kind of healing that begins when you stop trying to control the story, when you stop asking the world to stay and instead ask Allah to guide, when you realize that love, peace, and contentment are not found in people, they are found in the one who created people. This is what Sabr truly means, not simply waiting, but trusting. Trusting that Allah sees your tears, hears your prayers, and knows the silent battles no one else knows. Yes, your heart may feel heavy. Yes, walking away hurts. Yes, the silence after someone leaves can feel unbearable. But inside that silence is a gift, a chance to return to yourself, to reclaim your worth, to rebuild your heart with Allah at the center. When you let go for the sake of Allah, He promises to replace your loss with something better. Maybe not immediately, but perfectly, in the right moment, in the right form. So breathe, release, let them go. Not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of trust. Trust that Allah writes with mercy, even when you cannot read His handwriting. Trust that what He takes is out of wisdom and what He gives is out of love. And trust that your journey is sacred and not everyone is meant to walk it with you. Focus on what you can control. Your heart, your prayers, your healing, your iman. Tend to your soul the way you tend to a fragile seed. Gently, patiently, consistently. And whenever the ache returns, remind yourself, Allah is enough. The one who created your heart knows exactly how to mend it. Return to Him. Anchor yourself in Him. And watch how everything you thought you lost is replaced with something far more beautiful than what you were trying to hold on to. Sometimes we try to hold on with everything we have, believing that if we just try harder, love deeper, stay longer, the outcome will change. But the truth is, you cannot hold on to what Allah has already written to leave your life. There are moments when a person's presence feels essential, when their absence feels unimaginable, and yet the decree of Allah moves in quiet, unseen ways, gently unfolding what is meant to be. You might feel the resistance inside you, the longing, the fear of losing, the hope that maybe things will return to how they once were. But destiny does not bend to emotion. It bends to the wisdom of the one who sees the full picture while you only see a fragment. Sometimes Allah takes someone out of your life long before your heart is ready, not because you don't deserve, but because their role in your journey is complete. What is written has its own timing, its own rhythm, its own purpose. And no matter how tightly you cling, no matter how many prayers you whisper for them to stay, if their chapter in your life has reached its divinely ordained end, nothing can extend it. This isn't a punishment. It isn't a sign of failure. It is a form of protection, a mercy wrapped in discomfort. There is a quiet strength in accepting that Allah's decree is kinder than your desires. You may not see the danger He shielded you from, the heartbreak He saved you from, or the spiritual growth He opened for you through this separation. Letting go is an act of surrender, a recognition that your heart and your destiny are in the hands of the one who loves you more than you can imagine. When you release what was never meant to stay, you create space for what was always meant to be. Letting go often feels like losing, like stepping into an emptiness you never asked for. But in reality, letting go is not a defeat. It is a form of surrender to the one who knows every hidden detail of your life. When something or someone begins to slip away, your instinct may be to grasp even tighter, to try to save what feels familiar, comforting, or meaningful. Yet Allah, in His infinite wisdom, removes what no longer serves your heart or your journey. And surrendering to this divine movement is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of spiritual maturity. There are moments when holding on becomes heavier than releasing. Your heart becomes anxious, your mind restless, and your soul tired from trying to control what was never in your hands to begin with. This is where surrender becomes a gift. The realization that Allah is guiding you gently away from what could harm you, distract you, or keep you from reaching a better chapter written specifically for your growth. When you let go, you are not giving up. You are choosing to trust the author of your story more than your own limited understanding. Sometimes the things you want most are the very things Allah protects you from, even when you can't see it. What you perceive as loss, He sees as liberation. What you mourn, He replaces with something far more aligned with your purpose. And even though your heart may resist, deep down you sense that Allah's plan carries a wisdom far beyond what your emotions can grasp. Letting go becomes a form of worship, a quiet declaration that you trust Allah's timing, His decisions, and His promises. It is choosing peace over attachment, clarity over confusion, and faith over fear. There are times when someone's exit from your life feels abrupt, confusing, or deeply painful, and you may wonder why Allah would allow such a separation. But often, Allah removes people not to hurt you, but to protect you in ways you may only understand later. Every person who comes into your life carries a purpose, and every person who leaves does so with a wisdom attached to their departure. Sometimes their presence becomes a barrier between you and your spiritual growth, even if you don't realize it. And sometimes their absence becomes the very thing that awakens parts of you that could never bloom while they were still there. Protection doesn't always look like shields and shelter. Sometimes it looks like distance. There are people whose energy, choices, or paths may silently pull you away from who you are meant to become. Their company may feel comforting, yet it subtly detours your heart from Allah. And although you may think you need them, Allah knows when their influence is no longer good for your soul. Removal then becomes a divine intervention, a redirection towards something healthier, purer, and more aligned with your purpose. But it's not only protection, sometimes it's elevation. When Allah wants to raise you to a higher level of faith, clarity, or inner strength, He removes attachments that keep you anchored to the same emotional and spiritual place. Pain becomes a ladder. Separation becomes a doorway. And your heartbreak becomes the beginning of a new chapter meant to carry you closer to Him. If certain people had stayed, you would have remained dependent, stagnant, or unaware of your own potential. You may not understand the wisdom immediately, but Allah's plan unfolds slowly, revealing that every departure was preparing you, cleansing you, and shaping you for the blessings ahead. Your worth has never been tied to who chooses to stay in your life or who decides to walk away. People come and go, not because your value changes, but because Allah writes different journeys for different hearts. Too often, we hand pieces of our identity to people, believing that their approval makes us enough, their presence makes us whole, and their love makes us worthy. But when someone leaves, you may feel as though they take a part of you with them, leaving you questioning your own value. This is a misunderstanding of where your true worth comes from. Your worth is anchored in something eternal, your relationship with Allah. It was never meant to depend on the temporary affection of human beings. People can change, emotions can shift, relationships can fade, but Allah remains constant. His love does not fluctuate with your mistakes. His mercy is not withdrawn because someone turned away, and His acceptance does not disappear when a door closes in your life. He created you with honor, and no human being has the power to take that away. Sometimes Allah allows people to leave to remind you of this truth. Their absence exposes the illusion that your value depended on them. It reveals the places where you attached your self-worth to something fragile, something created, something that was never meant to hold the weight of your heart. When they walk away, it is not a reflection of who you are, but a reflection of the role they were meant to play, and that role had simply come to an end. You are not defined by rejection, loss, or distance. You are defined by the one who fashioned your soul, who knows your struggles, who hears your prayers, and who sees your unseen efforts. When you realign your heart with Allah, you begin to understand that your worth is sacred, unshakable, and untouched by who stays or who leaves. Hearts break, and yet there is a purpose hidden within every fracture. When someone leaves or a dream fades, the pain that floods your chest can feel unbearable, and you may wonder why your soul had to endure such weight. But heartbreak is not a punishment. It is a gentle, divine call to open your heart, not to people, but to Allah. Every tear you shed, every longing you feel, every ache of absence is a quiet invitation to return to the one who is constant, the one who understands the depth of your suffering, the one who alone can fill the emptiness with peace. When your heart breaks, it loosens the grip of dependency on the created and redirects your longing to the Creator. The places where you once sought comfort in another's presence now become spaces for Allah's mercy to enter. He says in the Quran, "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits. But give good tidings to the patient." The heartbreak, the loss, the disappointment, they are all tests designed to awaken patience, reflection, and reliance on Him. Sometimes the very wounds that seem to weaken you are the channels through which Allah pours His healing. He is refining your heart, shaping your trust, and teaching you to rely on Him above all else. Human attachments are transient, but the bond with Allah is eternal. When your heart breaks, it is being softened, not destroyed. It is being open to love that does not falter, to care that does not end, and to a presence that never abandons. Every ache, every longing, and every tear is a reminder that your heart was meant for more than this world. The pain guides you back to the eternal source of comfort, the one whose love never leaves, whose mercy never fails, and whose embrace can heal even the most shattered soul. Detachment is often misunderstood as coldness or indifference, but in reality, it is a profound act of inner freedom. It is the moment when you release your grip on what was never meant to be permanently yours and allow Allah to guide the flow of your life without interference. Human hearts are naturally drawn to attachment, to clinging, to holding on tightly to what feels familiar, comforting, or necessary. Yet clinging too tightly can blind you to divine wisdom, prevent growth, and tether your heart to what may ultimately harm or distract you from your purpose. Detachment, then, is not about turning away from life or love. It is about turning toward Allah while letting go of dependency on the created. When you detach from unhealthy attachments, you create space for your soul to breathe, to heal, and to align with what Allah has destined for you. The people, opportunities, and circumstances that once seemed essential may fade, not because you are ungrateful or uncaring, but because your heart is learning a higher form of reliance. Detachment allows you to recognize that your peace, contentment, and fulfillment are not found in external validation or constant presence, but in the remembrance of Allah and in surrender to His decree. Sometimes holding on too tightly keeps your heart in chains, weighing you down with unnecessary anxiety, longing, or disappointment. Detachment releases these chains, enabling clarity, serenity, and focus. It teaches that true love does not demand possession, that true faith trusts Allah's timing, and that true strength is found in surrender rather than control. When you detach, you are not abandoning love or hope. You are embracing the divine guidance that knows exactly what your heart needs, what your journey requires, and what will ultimately lead you closer to peace. It is a practice of spiritual maturity, a commitment to prioritizing Allah above all, and an act of courage that frees your heart from what is not meant to stay. When someone's departure shakes you to your core, it is often a reflection of the depth of attachment your heart had placed on the creation rather than the Creator. It is natural to feel hurt, lost, or unsettled when a person you care for walks away, but the intensity of your pain reveals where your reliance has been focused. Hearts are meant to anchor in Allah, and when they become overly dependent on people, the removal of those people can feel like the world is crumbling. This is a subtle but profound lesson in redirecting your trust and love toward the one who never leaves, never changes, and never disappoints. Attachment to people is not inherently wrong. Love, connection, and companionship are gifts from Allah. But when your emotional stability and sense of worth become tied to someone else, their actions, choices, or presence take on the power to define your inner peace. And when they leave, the sudden void can feel unbearable, as though your heart has lost its anchor. It is in these moments that Allah gently reminds you of where your true reliance must lie. He says in the Quran, "Indeed, Allah is sufficient for His servant." When your foundation rests on Him, no absence, rejection, or departure can truly shake you. The departure of someone can also serve as a mirror, showing you the areas where your heart was leaning on what is temporary rather than eternal. It exposes dependency and invites reflection, patience, and a return to spiritual focus. It is a call to examine where you invest your love, energy, and longing, and to remember that only Allah is the source of unshakable support and fulfillment. When your heart learns to rest in Him first, the removal of anyone else becomes less of a loss and more of a divine redirection toward peace, growth, and closeness to Allah. Healing begins the moment you accept Allah's decree and stop resisting what He has written for you. Often we try to control the outcomes of our lives, holding tightly to people, dreams, or circumstances, believing that our efforts alone can secure our happiness. Yet every time something slips from our grasp, it is not a failure. It is a reminder that Allah's wisdom surpasses our understanding. Accepting Qadr, divine decree, is the first step toward true emotional and spiritual healing because it shifts the focus from what has been lost to what Allah is preparing for you. Resistance prolongs pain, creating restlessness in the heart and confusion in the mind. When you fight against what has already been written, you drain your energy on what is beyond your control. But when you surrender, you create space for peace, clarity, and growth. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means trust. It means understanding that every event, every loss, and every heartbreak carries a purpose designed by the most merciful. Your pain is never wasted, your tears are never unseen, and your efforts are never ignored by Allah. Healing through acceptance allows your heart to reconnect with what truly matters, your relationship with Allah. When you stop clinging to outcomes, you start to lean into reliance, remembering that He knows what is best, even when your heart cannot yet comprehend it. It opens the door for gratitude, patience, and renewed hope. Your soul begins to find solace in the one who orchestrates every twist and turn of your life, the one who can transform suffering into strength, loss into wisdom, and endings into beginnings. Every step of acceptance, every moment of surrender, and every prayer whispered with sincerity becomes a pathway to healing. It teaches your heart to trust divine timing, to embrace patience, and to discover that peace does not come from holding on, but from letting Allah guide the course of your life. Sabr, true patience, is far more than quietly waiting for things to change. It is an active, conscious choice to trust Allah's wisdom while enduring life's challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties. It is the deep understanding that your struggles are not meaningless, that your waiting is not in vain, and that every moment of difficulty carries a divine purpose beyond your immediate perception. Many hearts believe that patience is passive, a resignation to circumstance, but in reality, it is a dynamic act of faith. It requires surrender, resilience, and a steadfast belief that Allah's timing is perfect. When you practice sabr, you acknowledge that Allah sees what you cannot, that He hears the silent prayers of your heart, and that He knows exactly when to open doors, close chapters, or redirect your path. Life often presents situations that test your resolve, people who challenge your trust, and losses that shake your spirit. In these moments, Sabr allows you to remain centered, holding on to hope even when the world feels uncertain. It teaches that patience is not about enduring the moment alone, but about anchoring your heart in reliance on Allah, knowing that He is shaping your journey with infinite wisdom and mercy. Sabr also transforms your perspective. Instead of viewing trials as punishments or obstacles, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth, purification, and spiritual elevation. Every hardship endured with patience strengthens the soul, refines character, and deepens your connection with Allah. Remember, the Prophet taught that patience is light, a guidance that illuminates the path through darkness, offering clarity when the heart is overwhelmed by uncertainty. Through Sabr, waiting becomes purposeful, pain becomes instructive, and life's delays become lessons in trust. It is an active affirmation that Allah's plan is more beautiful than your timing, more precise than your understanding, and more merciful than your desire for immediate comfort. True patience is not a passive act. It is the heart's declaration of faith in the one who never fails, never forgets, and never abandons. What you lose for the sake of Allah is never truly lost. When someone or something departs from your life, it may feel like an end, a void, or a deprivation. But in reality, what Allah takes away is often making room for something greater, something purer, and something more aligned with your spiritual and emotional well-being. Loss, when surrendered to Him, becomes a form of investment in your soul. It is an opportunity for growth, reflection, and deepened reliance on Allah, who alone knows the full scope of what is best for you. Sometimes we resist letting go because we fear that what leaves us will never be replaced. We cling to familiarity, to comfort, and to the illusion of security that comes from the known rather than the unseen. Yet Allah promises that He is the best of planners, and what He writes for you is far more perfect than anything you could hold on to through your own effort. The emptiness left by loss is not a punishment, but a space He intends to fill with His mercy, blessings, and guidance. What feels like an ending may actually be a redirection towards something far more fulfilling, a person, an opportunity, or a peace that you could not have attained without the removal of what was not meant to stay, understanding. This truth requires surrender and trust. It requires letting go of control and acknowledging that your heart, your journey, and your destiny are in the hands of the most merciful. Loss becomes easier to bear when you view it through the lens of divine wisdom. Nothing truly departs that Allah intends to preserve. And nothing is lost that He intends to replace with something better. This perspective transforms grief into hope, disappointment into anticipation, and fear into faith. Every parting, every release, and every closure carries within it the seeds of new beginnings, nurtured by the one who never errs and never forsakes His servants. Your journey is uniquely yours, and not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Life places people in your path for reasons that may not always be clear, and sometimes their presence is temporary, designed to teach lessons, provide support, or reveal truths about yourself. When someone leaves, it can feel as though a piece of your life has been taken away. But in reality, it is a divine signal reminding you that your path is personal, sacred, and carefully guided by Allah. Each individual has a destination written for them, and not everyone is meant to share the same road with you until the end. It is natural to feel disappointment, longing, or confusion when someone departs. especially if you had envisioned them as a permanent part of your story. But the wisdom behind these separations is profound. Allah knows who is meant to accompany you, who will uplift your spirit, and who might inadvertently hinder your growth. The people who leave often do so to make space for experiences, connections, and blessings that align with your true purpose. Their departure is not a reflection of your value or their lack of care. It is part of a divine orchestration far beyond what the heart can immediately comprehend. Embracing this understanding shifts your focus inward. Your journey is yours to nurture, strengthen, and navigate. Every step, every trial, and every success belongs to you, and your ultimate fulfillment depends on your relationship with Allah, not on the presence or absence of others. When you release the need for everyone to walk with you, you create freedom for yourself. Freedom to grow, to learn, to heal, and to trust that Allah's plan for your life is perfect. Your path may sometimes feel lonely, but it is precisely on this personal journey that your heart, your faith, and your soul are shaped into the person you were always meant to become. Allah sometimes closes doors in your life, not to punish you, but to protect you from settling for less than what He has written for you. It is easy to view rejection, loss, or endings as failures, but in reality, they are often acts of divine mercy. What seems like a closed door may be a shield, sparing you from pain, disappointment, or relationships that would divert you from your purpose. Allah sees beyond what you can, knowing the paths that lead to growth, peace, and fulfillment, and He guides your heart accordingly. When a door closes, it can feel like a sudden rupture, leaving your mind racing with questions, and your heart clinging to what was. Yet these moments are reminders that your life is not meant to be dictated by human plans alone. The closure of one path often signals that a better, more fitting one is being prepared. Sometimes we cannot see the wisdom behind a loss until later, when reflection reveals that the timing, the people, or the circumstances were never aligned with the divine plan. Acceptance of this truth is an act of faith, a quiet surrender to the one who knows what is best for you, even when it differs from your own desires. Every closed door carries a hidden blessing. It teaches patience, strengthens trust in Allah, and encourages self-reflection. It frees you from attachments that may not serve your soul and prepares you for the doors He will open in the right time, with the right people, and for the right reasons. By releasing your grip on what was once held, you allow space for the provision, guidance, and mercy that Allah has promised. Trusting in His wisdom transforms endings into beginnings and disappointments into lessons, reminding you that He always knows what is best for you and will never leave your heart without care. Tawakkul, complete trust in Allah, is the understanding that even the endings, the losses, and the departures carry hidden mercy. It is the heart's surrender to the one who orchestrates every detail of life with infinite wisdom and perfect knowledge. When someone leaves your life or a situation does not unfold as you hoped, the instinct may be to cling, to question, or to resist. Yet Tawakkul invites you to release control, to stop trying to rewrite the script, and to trust that Allah knows what is best for you in ways your heart cannot yet comprehend. Trusting Allah does not mean passivity or indifference. It is an active reliance on Him, a conscious choice to anchor your heart in His plan while moving forward with faith and patience. The departure of people, the closure of opportunities, and the twists of fate are not random events, but part of a divine design meant to guide you, protect you, and elevate you spiritually. When you practice Tawakkul, you see that nothing is truly lost and that every ending is preparing you for a beginning far more aligned with your purpose. This trust transforms perspective. Instead of mourning what has left, you start to anticipate the unseen blessings that are on their way. Instead of fearing separation, you embrace it as a sign that Allah is redirecting your life towards something better. The heart that trusts in Allah feels lighter, freer, and more peaceful, even amid uncertainty. Tawakkul also nurtures patience, gratitude, and resilience. It reminds you that Allah's plan is perfect, even when it differs from your desires. It teaches that what He removes may have been a burden in disguise, and what He allows to enter your life carries mercy beyond your imagination. When you fully place your heart in His hands, you discover that endings are not emptiness, departures are not abandonment, and letting go becomes an act of profound spiritual liberation. Focusing on yourself means turning your attention inward, toward your heart, your soul, and your relationship with Allah, rather than outward toward the actions, presence, or absence of others. It is a conscious decision to prioritize your spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being over attachments that may distract, drain, or derail you from your purpose. When you place your energy on yourself, you create the space to nurture your iman, to heal wounds, and to grow in ways that align with Allah's plan. Your heart becomes a garden, and focusing on yourself is the act of tending it with care, patience, and intention. Self-focus is not selfishness. It is self-preservation guided by divine wisdom. Many times we expend our emotional energy trying to fix situations, hold on to people, or control outcomes that are not ours to manage. This can leave us depleted, frustrated, and distant from Allah. But when you redirect your focus to yourself, you redirect it to what truly matters. Your prayers, your character, your intentions, and your connection with the one who never changes. This inward attention strengthens your heart's resilience, clears the clutter of unnecessary dependencies, and teaches you to find contentment in Allah's sufficiency rather than in fleeting human approval. Focusing on yourself also deepens awareness of your journey, helping you recognize patterns, heal old wounds, and set boundaries that protect your peace. It allows you to reflect on what brings you closer to Allah and what pulls you away, giving you the clarity to make choices that nourish your soul. The process of focusing on yourself cultivates self-compassion, patience, and gratitude, and reinforces that your worth is inherent, not contingent on others. When your heart is centered on Allah and your energy is invested in your growth, you begin to attract what aligns with His plan for you. You become more resilient to loss, more patient with timing, and more at peace with endings. Focusing on yourself is ultimately an act of trust in Allah, a commitment to your spiritual and emotional well-being, and a declaration that your life is guided by His wisdom, not by the presence or absence of anyone else. Letting go is never easy, but it is necessary. Holding on to what is no longer meant for you only weighs down your heart and clouds your vision. True freedom, peace, and growth come when you release what belongs to Allah, trust in His plan, and redirect your focus toward your own journey and your connection with Him. Remember, every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. Every departure is a form of divine protection, and every moment of surrender strengthens your faith. Anchor your heart in Allah, nurture your soul, and embrace the beauty of trusting that He knows what is best for you. Your life, your peace, and your worth are not defined by who stays or who leaves, but by your faith, your resilience, and your unwavering trust in the one who never fails. Let go, focus on yourself, and allow Allah's wisdom to guide you toward what He has truly written for you.